Today, we delve into the miraculous birth of Moses, a story steeped in faith, courage, and divine providence. As we explore this narrative, let us open our hearts to the lessons it imparts about God's sovereignty and our role in His divine plan. Our journey begins in the book of Exodus. The Israelites have been living in Egypt for centuries, their numbers growing rapidly. A new Pharaoh, who did not know Joseph, comes to power and feels threatened by the burgeoning Hebrew population. In Exodus 1 verses 8 to 10, we read, "Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them or they will become even more numerous and, if war breaks out, will join our enemies, fight against us and leave the country." To curb the Hebrew population, Pharaoh imposes harsh slavery on the Israelites and orders the Hebrew midwives to kill all newborn Hebrew boys. Yet, the midwives, fearing God, defy Pharaoh's decree and let the boys live. In response, Pharaoh decrees that all Hebrew male infants must be thrown into the Nile River, Exodus 1 verse 22. In this time of great oppression, a Levite couple, Amram and Jochebed, give birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. Despite the danger, Jochebed's faith in God compels her to protect her child. For 3 months, she hides him, defying Pharaoh's decree. Her actions reflect her unwavering trust in God's plan, even in the face of immense risk. When she can no longer keep him hidden, Jochebed takes a bold and desperate step. Jochebed crafts a waterproof basket, places her precious son inside, and sets it adrift on the Nile. This act of faith is a poignant reminder that sometimes, trusting God means letting go and placing our loved ones in His hands. Miriam, Moses' sister, watches from a distance, her heart filled with hope and anxiety. God's providence is evident as the story unfolds. In Exodus 2 verses 5 to 6, we read, "Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. 'This is one of the Hebrew babies,' she said. Moved by compassion, Pharaoh's daughter decides to adopt the child. Despite her father's edict, she chooses to save a Hebrew baby, demonstrating that God can use even the most unlikely individuals to fulfill His purposes. Miriam courageously approaches Pharaoh's daughter and offers a suggestion. In Exodus 2 verses 7 to 9, we read, "Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, 'Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?' 'Yes, go,' she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, 'Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you.' So the woman took the baby and nursed him. Miriam's quick thinking leads to Jochebed being reunited with her son, now under the protection of Pharaoh's household. Jochebed can nurse and care for her child openly, experiencing the joy of watching him grow without fear. This part of the story shows how God's provision often exceeds our expectations, turning our dire situations into blessings. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, 'I drew him out of the water.' The name Moses, meaning drawn out, signifies both his miraculous rescue from the Nile and his future role in drawing the Israelites out of Egypt. Raised as an Egyptian prince, Moses is prepared for the unique role God has in store for him, bridging two worlds and culture. Thus, Moses was raised in the royal palace, receiving the best education Egypt could offer. Moses grew up with privileges and access to the finest education. He was instructed in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and became powerful in speech and action. His position in the palace granted him a unique perspective on both the grandeur of Egyptian civilization and the suffering of his people, the Hebrews. As Moses matured, his heart began to stir with a sense of justice and compassion for his fellow Hebrews. One day, he witnessed an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew slave. Moved by righteous anger, Moses intervened and struck down the Egyptian, hiding his body in the sand. This act of defiance marked the beginning of Moses' internal struggle between his Egyptian upbringing and his Hebrew heritage. The next day, Moses saw two Hebrews fighting and tried to mediate. One of them retorted, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Realizing his deed was known, Moses feared for his life. When Pharaoh learned of the incident, he sought to kill Moses. Fleeing for his life, Moses left behind the splendor of the palace and journeyed to the land of Midian. There, he would undergo a profound transformation, leading to his destiny as the deliverer of his people. In Midian, Moses found refuge with Jethro, the priest of Midian, and married his daughter Zipporah. He settled into the life of a shepherd, but the call of God would soon disrupt his peaceful existence, setting him on a path to liberate the Israelites from bondage and lead them to the Promised Land. Thus, Moses' journey from the Nile to the palace, and from the palace to the wilderness, was orchestrated by divine providence. His life was a tapestry woven with threads of courage, compassion, and destiny, preparing him to fulfill God's purpose for the deliverance of Israel.